Right now, there's a cow standing in a field somewhere, chewing grass, staring at nothing. And if you ask the farmer what it's thinking about, he'd probably say nothing. Just standing there. Just existing. But what if that's the wrong answer? What if behind those eyes, something is actually happening? What if that cow, on some level, knows it's alive? Or, and this is the part that should bother you, what if it has absolutely no idea? This isn't just a question about cows. It's a question about every animal on the planet. And the answer is stranger than you'd expect. Let's start with what we actually know. In 1970, a psychologist named Gordon Gallup Jr. designed a test. Simple idea. You put an animal in front of a mirror. Most animals see their reflection and immediately treat it like a stranger. They posture, they puff up, they bark or hiss or charge. A gorilla will try to intimidate its own face for 20 minutes before getting bored and walking away. It never once realizes the thing it's threatening is itself. But a small group of animals do something different.
They look at the mirror, they pause, they start touching their own bodies, investigating themselves. They understand that what they're seeing is them. Chimpanzees do this, dolphins, elephants, even one bird, the Eurasian magpie, a creature with a brain the size of a walnut that apparently knows exactly what it looks like. That's called self-recognition. And for a long time, scientists treated it as the gold standard for self-awareness. But here's where it gets complicated. The mirror test might be completely wrong. Not wrong in what it found, wrong in what it's actually measuring. Because self-recognition in a mirror is a visual task, and not every animal lives in a visual world. Dogs, for example, experience reality almost entirely through smell. Asking a dog to recognize itself in a mirror is like asking you to identify yourself from a recording of your own heartbeat. The test doesn't fit the animal. In 2017, a researcher gave dogs a scent version of the mirror test, their own smell, a modified version of their smell, a stranger's smell. Dogs spent dramatically more time with the altered version of their own scent. They noticed something about themselves had changed. In their world, by their rules, they knew who they were. But here's the distinction that matters. Knowing who you are is not the same as knowing that you are. There's a difference between having a self and being aware that you have one, between experiencing your life and actually knowing that you're experiencing it. Philosophers call this metacognition, thinking about your own thinking, being aware of your own awareness. It's what you're doing right now, actually. You're not just reading these words. You know that you're reading them. You can step back from yourself and watch yourself from the outside. Can animals do that? Increasingly, the answer looks like yes. Researchers gave rhesus monkeys a memory test. After each question, the monkeys could choose. Take a hard version worth more reward, or take an easy version worth less. Consistently, they chose harder questions when they felt confident, easier ones when they weren't sure. They weren't just answering, they were monitoring their own certainty before they answered. That's not instinct. That's an animal thinking about its own thinking. Rats do something similar. Given the option to skip a test they clearly haven't prepared for, they'll take the guaranteed smaller reward rather than gamble on a question they're not sure about. Pigeons have been shown to report their own memory failures. Dolphins hesitate before answering in a way that maps almost exactly to human uncertainty. These animals aren't just reacting to the world, they're modeling what's happening inside themselves.
But here's what science still can't crack. All of that, the mirror recognition, the metacognition, the self-monitoring, it's behavior. We can measure what animals do. We cannot get inside what they feel. And there's a massive difference between those two things. Philosophers call it qualia, the raw felt texture of experience, the specific redness of red, the exact sting of a paper cut, the particular feeling of being you, right now, in this moment. Is there something it actually feels like to be a cow standing in a field? Or is the cow just running biological software? Inputs in, outputs out, no one home. We don't know, and that gap might be permanently uncrossable. But then there's the evidence that's hardest to explain away.
In 2018, an elephant at a sanctuary in Kenya lost a companion she had spent over a decade with. For days after the death, she returned to the spot where her companion died and stood there, alone, not eating, not engaging with the rest of the herd, just standing in that spot. Researchers watched her and had no clean behavioral explanation. It wasn't about survival. There was no resource at that location. There was nothing to gain, except that maybe she knew something was gone that used to be there. If that's not an animal that understands the difference between presence and absence, between alive and not alive, what is? So where does this actually leave us? The science says yes, some animals recognize themselves. Yes, they can monitor their own mental states. Yes, something is probably happening inside them that we'd call experience. But the deepest question, does the cow in the field actually know it's alive, the way you know you're alive? That one, we still can't fully reach.